Are you ready to take your ministry in a new direction? Are you ready to explore new innovative ways to carry the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world? Have you ever thought about having a television ministry? Were you reluctant because of pricing? Did it seem too costly for your ministry? If I told you that television is affordable, and that there is a solution within your budget, would you be interested? There is an affordable solution for your ministry. It's Clarity IBN. Clarity is an affordable option for you to be on television. You can reach the world for Jesus without breaking your budget. Go now. Go to clarityibn.org. Fill out the contact form, and a representative from Clarity IBN will email you on how you can be on television affordably. Don't wait, don't procrastinate. Do it now. Go to clarityibn.org and get started.
Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Moment of Truth. This is Live at 5, and I am your host, Dr. Harold G. Dakis Jr. We are here. I made it home just in time. I left Vegas this morning at 2 a.m. It took me 12 hours to get to Oakland. I got here at 2 o'clock. I'll tell you why. I drove an electric car, and I had to stop every couple of hours and recharge the car. I had to stop more going because I was experimenting. It actually took me 14 hours. I ended up for 3 hours. I was all included, a 3 hour trip, waiting on a tow truck, getting towed back to a charging station, and then an hour to charge it fully to finish the last leg into Vegas. So let's see. That trip going, I left at 4 a.m., got there at 7:40, almost 8 p.m. So that was 12 and 4, 16 hours on the road. Spent 12 hours on the road coming home, but I stopped twice, or 3 times, to charge the vehicle back up completely for the next leg. And the charges took an hour. two of them, 1 45 minutes. But yeah, electric cars run nice, ride nice, but not for the highway. It normally takes me 8 hours to get to Vegas, 9 at the most, and that's because if I stop and have a meal instead of getting the meal to go and eat while I'm on the road. But 12 hours don't work, and that 16 hours going definitely didn't work. So anyway, but thank God I'm back home and had a good trip, and we are here ready for our live at 5. Tonight we're going into chapter 26 of the book of Proverbs. This section of Proverbs is dealing with the duties governing relationships. We talked about the duties of the individual, and today we're going to talk about some of the duties that we have in assessing the character of others in potential relationships. And Solomon is giving a lot of good information. Now, and the Bible tells us that we should give instruction, uh, not just for your spiritual, but also for your carnal. You need to know how to deal with people, how to deal with different personalities and characters, and then notice certain traits in individuals and be able to identify those traits and characteristics um, in them so that we hello oh computer just went out. Hello. Oh wow, my computer just went blank. Let's see what is going on here. uh okay, I'm back in. All right, I guess I'm back up now. I don't know what happened. And I was trying to log on to YouTube to see it, but it wasn't showing it to me. Okay, uninterruptible power source. All right, well, let's get back into this. I don't know what happened. Anyway, uh, man, that was weird. Okay. All right, so Solomon is picking back up here in chapter 26, and he's dealing with same number of verses in chapter 25, 28 verses, but he's talking about here what are some of the aspects of a successful life, and part of it, he says, is um, he's showing here that a successful life evolves around how do I put this? It evolves around your relationships, and it revolves around your relationships um, that are the horizontal relationships, unilateral. But there's a vertical relationship we must solidify first, and that is our relationship with God. That's the vertical relationship. And we should always guard that relationship because it's of most importance. Now, let's see, why isn't this showing up? I want to monitor the online presence, the online view, but it's not letting me in today. Oh, here it is. Okay, it started out. All right, it's back up now. We look to be okay. All right, so, wow. Okay. I don't know. I got to check this equipment out. All right, so let's get into Proverbs 26. Today we're going to do an overview, an introduction of chapter 26 and what it is that we should be looking for in this chapter and what it is that Solomon is saying to us. Now, successful life revolves around the relationships we have. We see those relationships in the form of family, um, work related, social relationships, which are friendships, acquaintances, and when we build relationships with individuals, even online now because they call it social media. So we're captivated a lot by relationships. Now, the most important relationship that you have is your relationship with God. His relationship is the primary relationship, and his relationship also determines the dynamics of all of the other relationships that you have. His relationship is a very dynamic relationship in that it is your relationship with the Creator, the one who created you, and the one who controls everything. We had a lesson a few Sundays back, and the church where I preached yesterday in Vegas, their Sunday school had the same lesson yesterday that we had a couple months ago, and it was about the temptation of Jesus. Now you notice in that temptation in Luke chapter 4, Mark chapter 4, deals with Jesus being tempted after he comes out of the wilderness after fasting 40 days. Satan challenges his identity, challenges his faith, and his relationship with God. Your relationship with God is the most important because it is God who controls and determines every outcome. It's according to his will. And he can stop anything. And many things he allows because it's his will that it goes that way. But when we are looking to achieve success and understanding that success revolves around the relationships. Listen, business success revolves around your business relationships. They always say it's not always what you know, but who you know. It has a greater weight. And then not just knowing them, but what kind of a relationship do you have with them? Will they vouch for you? Will they go above and beyond for you? Family relationships. Sometimes those can be the most volatile and the most damaging. Uh, Whenever you get certain governmental jobs, positions, or careers, they interview your family because they know the family knows things about you no one else knows. How is that? They are the ones that are allowed to see you at your most exposed condition. They see you when no one else does. And so that family relationship can be sometimes very volatile, very damaging, and don't let it be some jealousy involved. See, and then some people don't understand that killing you also hurts them. They think that they're just getting back at you, but when they kill you or your influence or your ability, and especially if they're benefiting from you, uh, they kill themselves at the same time. So, social relationships uh, also are essential because you have to learn how to interact and engage with people. You can't just be nice and kind to your family. Uh, can't just treat your good acquaintances, your best friends, right, and not treat others correctly. I listen to this broadcast some mornings, and it's called Off the Hook. And this guy had mistreated uh, an employee. He was the supervisor. He had mistreated this guy, treated him real bad. And the guy ended up moving somewhere else. Well, eventually, this guy's character and actions caught up with him because he mistreated a lot of people. He ended up losing his job. Well, he was able to pull a few strings, get an opportunity for another job at another company. But lo and behold, the person who was now over the HR and responsible for the hiring decisions was this guy he had mistreated some 8 years ago. Think about it. You can imagine the guy didn't let him off the hook. He was trying to apologize for how he had done, telling the guy he really needed this job and blah, blah, blah. And when he got through telling him why he wasn't going to get the job, see, all because of what? He did not develop a good relationship with the people he supervised, and it ended up coming full circle. And now he's going for another job in another company, but who is the hiring person? The guy he mistreated. So, got to take care of the guy who's in control. So, in achieving success in our relationship, we must remember that the primary relationship we must have in order is the relationship we have with God. Mhm. Um, Solomon said, "In the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom." He also said the beginning of knowledge. If you want to develop good skills and you want to know how to maneuver successfully in relationships so that you can achieve success in life, because your success is evolving and connected to your relationships, plural, then you better learn some stuff from God, have a good relationship with Him, and learn how to discern, because that's what you really need is to discern some character. Proverbs 1 and 7 said, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." When you're in a right relationship with God, it helps you be in right relationship with other people. You know why? It's because of your relationship with God that you are compelled to treat others well in relationships. And you learn how to be more understanding than you would be without a relationship with God. Some people don't have an inkling of what it means to be understanding and to be merciful and gracious to others. They don't. And it's because they don't have a relationship with God. Now, uh, we've been dealing several chapters now about rulers, uh, about uh, restoring relationships, uh, resolving disputes, and then in the last chapter, uh, we talked mainly about having a good reputation among others, or it's said a wise testimony, having a good testimony. That's your reputation, what people think of you, how they view you. Here in this 26th chapter, we're going to explore four basic um, character traits or four types of people that you should avoid whenever possible. You don't want to have relationships with these kind of people because when you associate with people, it affects your relationships with others. You don't want a bad relationship to affect a potential beneficial relationship. All right. Now, um, I'm trying to phrase this. Not only should you avoid them, but you should also learn about them because sometimes you have these kind of people connected in your circle somehow and you can't avoid them. So you need to know how to deal with them. You might have them on the job. It might be a family member. It may be someone who has connected to you on social media that you thought was cool and okay, but you're discovering that maybe this wasn't such a good idea. You got to watch these folks. All right. So there are going to be some characteristics we're going to talk about in this chapter about these kind of people. Now, when you want to operate in the area of wisdom, here's what you do: you learn about these type of people, and you then learn how do you deal or interact with them so that it doesn't negatively affect your other relationships. Because people are going to be, how do I put this? They're going to be associated with you simply from others associating them with you because they met them uh, either through you or uh, at in a place where you were, and because they saw you talking to them or interacting with them, they just assume you knew them or you vouched for them. So you got to be careful. So because we we need to develop that ability called discernment, so that we can discern these kind of people, and then be wise of how do we deal with them. Okay. um so when you it's like this: people make associations based on what they see or their experience, and they may assume that you and that person. And this is why you have to always make sure you make good uh, clarifying introductions, and even find a way to introduce them so that people know that hey, this is we just met, but he works in so and so department, and he was telling me about, so you know I don't, he might be able to help you or be of some assistance to you sometime, but we just met, so I'm just making introductions. That's a good way to start off. That way, you're not, if there's something negative, you don't get associated with it as much. Um, Learn how to ask the right questions as well. Um, there's some sayings we're going to see uh, where they make these comparisons, like they did in the last chapter. It's like taking a coat from a person in winter, you know, or cutting and mauling them with a maul and a sword and a knife. You know, it uses these comparisons and analogies really to teach you how serious these things are. And that's the language in Proverbs, especially when we got into the later chapters, and he made comparisons, and he would compare the actions of the wise were in comparison to the actions of the wicked. And so, what are the four types of people we ought to look out for? Number one, and we're going to study this in the first 12 verses. Study the ways of a fool. See, you have to be careful and avoid foolish people. And the reason concern of their actions and how they act. And because they are foolish, they don't make wise choices and decisions. And they do things that are foolish. You don't want foolish people on your team. People who will act without thinking, or uh, do something without considering how it's going to affect the team or everyone else, especially those oh well. That really bothers me when people give that response. Oh well. What do you mean? Oh well. You see the damage that's been done. It's just not an oh well moment. We have to learn from this. We got to. It might be a mess we need to clean up so that we can salvage some positive outcomes and success. Got to watch out for the ways of the fool. Pay close attention. The second person you want to look out for is study the ways of a lazy man. That'll be in verses 13 through 16. Lazy people are always late. Um, Lazy people uh, don't care about something being done on time, correctly, or timely, nor efficiently. Um, they'll keep saying, "Oh, I'll get to it. I'll get to it." The delay is simply because they're lazy. They don't want to do it, and they're hoping somebody else gets to it so that they don't ever have to do it. Study the ways of a lazy man. The third uh, character we need to watch out for is study the ways of the busybody. That's going to be in verses 17 through 22. You ever had that person who was always in everybody else's business, but their business was always raggedy? Busybodies. My mother used to say if I spend 6 months minding my business and 6 months leaving other people's business alone, I won't have time to be a busybody. Busybodies are dangerous as well because busybodies stir up strife and envy and jealousy. Yeah, they stir up a lot of trouble between people because they like to also gossip and tell other people's business. That's a mark of a busybody. They tell you everything about everybody. They know it. And the fourth uh, character we're going to study in this chapter, study the ways of the deceiver. That's the person who's always trying to manipulate the truth and always manipulating it for the purpose of deceiving everyone. So much so they end up deceiving themselves. Watch out for the person who never tells the truth. That's going to be the last 6 verses, 23 through 28. So remember, verses 1 to 12, we're going to study the ways of the fool. Verse 13 to 16, the ways of the lazy man. Verses 17 to 22, the ways of the busybody. And verses 23 through 28, the ways of the deceiver. That's the person who always tell the lie, act the lie, live the lie. Always trying to fool everybody, make everybody think they are what they are not, and are never, ever what they're claiming to be. So, those are the four characters we're going to deal with in this chapter as we deal with the duties governing relationships. And repeat the verses. All right. Verses 1 through 12, dealing with this chapter 26 of Proverbs, everyone. Verses 1 through 12, we'll be studying the ways of a fool. Verses 13 through 16, the ways of the lazy man. Verses 17 through 22, the ways of the busybody. And verses 23 through 28, the ways of the deceiver. So that's what we're going to be moving into chapter 26, and that's the outline, the breakdown of our study as it relates to those characters: the fool, the lazy man, the busybody, and the deceiver. All right, that's our lesson for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at our regular time. I'm gonna figure out what's going on with this computer too. Thank you all though for joining. I appreciate you all and all of you that prayed for me on my journey. We had a wonderful time. I left on Thursday, drove to Vegas. As you see, one of my sisters, my baby sister, spend some time with her. Got to stay at her house, and then went out to see my niece and her new baby. And then we had a good time. Had good service yesterday, and everyone enjoyed the message. We had a wonderful time in the Lord, and then came back today. I left there at 2 a.m. I got back here at 2 p.m. That's 12 hours. Y'all know I'm a little tired from all this driving all day. But yeah, I think that'll be my last trip with an electric car on the road, unless I really have time. It was a nice ride though, but boy, it stopped too much to charge them things up. With the gas vehicle, I'd have stopped one time and got gas about better than halfway. And usually I get to Vegas and I got more than half a tank of gas left. So this was wild, and it only takes me, like I can say, 8 hours normally, 9 if I decide to stop and sit and eat. So anyway, it took me 16 hours going, and took me 12 hours coming back. So anyway, I've had my run with the electric car on the highway, but glad to be home. Thank the Lord for being here safe, and thank you all for coming on tonight. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you. Welcome. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you, Lord willing, on tomorrow. And I pray that God richly bless all of you. So you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening. And as always, God loves you and I love you. There's not a thing you can do about it. You're going to be blessed in the name of the Lord Jesus.